Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, and I hope that you had a great day yesterday. Today, we're going to start out with spelling. So, if you get your spelling book out, please, we're going to look at the first 5 vocabulary words for list 28. This is our last list that we're going to be working on. So, let's look at these first 5 words: connoisseur, coup, eminent, incompatible, and prevalent. That's what we're looking at today. So I'm going to read this sentences as always with the definition in it, and you guys can just kind of tell me what word I'm talking about. In 1973, Chile experienced a brilliant strategic move, often a military overthrow of government. So Chile experienced what? That would be a coup. When there's an overtaking of the government, it's called a coup, and that is COUP, but the P is silent. All right. The next one, Roman Catholicism is the commonly occurring or existing religion in Latin America. Commonly occurring or existing. So that would be what? Prevalent, yes. The Roman Catholicism is the prevalent religion in Latin America. The next one, the broken pipes were about to happen concern. The broken pipes were an about to happen concern. That would be what? What kind of concern would it be if you had broken pipes, like water pipes? It would be imminent, wouldn't it? It would mean that they were about to happen, something you need to take care of quickly. Here's the next one. Mr. Hudson, a great lover of opera, has made a name for himself as an expert in the arts, one with cultivated tastes. Okay, he's made a name for himself as a what of the arts? That would be a connoisseur, an expert with cultivated taste. So that would be a connoisseur. Excuse me. Let's say 1, 2, 3. And the last one. His frivolous attitude was incapable of existing together with his position of a judge. Frivolous attitude, incapable of existing together with its position of a judge. You don't want to see a judge that doesn't take his job very seriously. So this would be what? His frivolous attitude was incompatible with his position as a judge. That wouldn't work. A judge has to be someone that takes things very seriously, thinks through things, and tries to do the right thing instead of just being silly and not paying attention. So those are your 5 vocabulary words that you're going to copy today. You're going to copy the vocabulary words 3 times and the definitions 3 times as well. And so that's what you're going to do in spelling today. Next, I'd like for you to take out your grammar book, and we're going to start today a review. Next week, I believe it's going to be a week from today, on Tuesday, we have been asked to give an assessment, and this will not be a semester exam, won't be a final exam that you have to study for. This will be an assessment of the things that we've covered thus far this 9 weeks, so that when you do go back to school, I can give your 9th grade teacher some information to show them how well you mastered the things in grammar that you needed to know for next year. So you will be able to use your book, so please don't stress about it. It won't be long, just 25 questions, but I will be putting that on GroupMe probably Sunday night, or maybe Monday night, because on Monday you're supposed to do algebra and history. So I'll put your history one on there. Same thing on the history. It has questions on there, but I actually have the page numbers where you can look up the answers to the questions. But we just need to have some type of assessment to show that we measured your growth for this 9 weeks. So please don't stress over it. It should be something that you can handle very well. But I say that to say, I told you all that to say this. We're going to review in grammar, and so I want you to pay attention to this review. We're going to go over this together this week and review for some of the things that you'll see on the assessment next Tuesday. All right. So let's take a look now at page 267. We're going to work page 267 and 268. Again, look at exercise A. This is manuscript form. We've been doing this all year. You know, from the very beginning of the book is where you have all of those rules. So let's take a look. It says cross out the incorrect answer. So let's look at number 1. Would we use the numeral 5 or the word 5? Astronauts and 2 payload specialists lost their lives when the Space Shuttle Orbiter Challenger broke apart 73 seconds after liftoff on January 28, 1986. All right, so would we start it with the numeral? No, you never start a sentence with a numeral. So we cross out the numeral 5 and you put F-I-V-E. And then 5 astronauts and 2 payload specialists. Since we're talking about people, we're using numerals for the first one. We use numerals for the second one. So it would be TWO would be what we would use. So you'd cross out the numeral 2. And then it says 2 payload specialists lost their lives when the Space Shuttle Orbiter Challenger broke apart 73 seconds after liftoff. Okay, 73 seconds, that's 2 words. 1 or 2 words we spell out. So you would write 7, you would cross out the numeral 73, and all of these number words, all of these numbers would be written in words in this sentence. All right, number 2. It was to have been the first time a civilian would fly in space. So this is a numeral with 1 syllable, 1 word, so we would write that out. So you'd cross out the 1 and the ST. Boy, I remember this happening so well. It was such a sad thing. Number 3, NASA spent many weeks recovering the debris from the Atlantic Ocean near Cape Canaveral, Florida. NASA is one of those abbreviations that everybody knows what it stands for. It's commonly known. So you don't need the period. So that would just be the capital NASA. Number 4, while addressing the nation the evening after the Challenger disaster, President Ronald Reagan quoted the poem High Flight by John Gillespie Magee Jr. Okay, so we know we've got the whole name here, John Gillespie Magee, so we can abbreviate Jr. So we'd cross out the whole word Jr. and just abbreviate that. All right, some things never change. Ms. Walker's still sneezing, and it's still more than one time, isn't it? I'm very sorry, but allergies get me. All right, exercise B, capitalization and punctuation. It says circle each incorrect small letter and add any necessary punctuation. So you're going to circle the letters that need to be capitalized and you're going to add punctuation. I'm going to let you do this one on your own and then pause this video. When you finish, start the video again and I'll go over the answers. So pause the video, really pause it. Okay, let's go over the answers on this. Number 1, capital M and Mrs., capital F and Faz, you need an apostrophe after the S in seniors. You also need to have a comma after the word Faz, and you need a capital A in anatomy, a capital P in physiology. You need a comma after class. You need a capital N in new, capital Y in York, capital M in medical, capital C in college, because that's a proper noun, New York Medical College. In capital N in New York, capital Y in York, you need a comma between the city New York and the state New York. So you need another capital letter and capital N in New, capital Y in York. You need a comma after York. You need a capital M in May, and you need a comma after 15 and a period after the date. Now, I'm going to pause this for just a minute because I have got to go and get a plug to plug my computer in. It's running low on the battery. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Mr. Gurley brought a used Buick sedan in June. You need a capital M in Mr., a period after Mr., a capital G in Gurley. You need a capital B in Buick, a capital J in June, and a period at the end. Number 3, our family is going to Smith Lake Recreation Center on Saturday for our July 4th picnic. You need a capital O in hour, a capital S in Smith, a capital L in Lake, a capital R in recreation, a capital C in center, because that whole thing is a proper noun. You need a capital S in Saturday, a capital J in July, and a period at the end. Number 4, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791, was a musical genius who started composing at age 4. You need a capital W in Wolfgang. You need a capital A in Amadeus. You need a capital M in Mozart. You need to put 1756 through 1791 in parentheses. So you open them in front of the first number and you close them after the second number. Then at the end, you need a period. Number 5, one of Mozart's most famous operas is The Magic Flute. Capital O in one, capital M in Mozart. You need an apostrophe between the T and the S in Mozart. You need a capital T in the, capital M in magic, and a capital F in flute, a period at the end. And because this is an opera, you need to underline the opera. Okay, so that's exercise B. So let's take a look now at exercise C. Subjects, verbs, and verbals. Draw 2 lines under each verb, draw 1 line under each subject, and circle any complements and box any verbals. Okay, 4 things. So let's go ahead and do to the directions what it tells us to do to the bottom. All right, so under the word verb, behind number 1, draw 2 lines under that word verb. Now, on number 2, draw 1 line under the word subject. Number 3, on the word complements, draw a circle around it. And number 4, the word verbal, box it, okay? All right, so let's take a look at exercise C, number 1. My mom wrote an interesting novel about the Civil War, okay? So let's take a look at where's the subject or where's the verb in this sentence. We'll always look for the verb first. So the verb is wrote. Who wrote? Mom wrote. So mom should be underlined once as the subject and wrote twice as the verb. And then mom wrote what? Novel. So that's the complement, okay? So we're going to circle the word novel. No verbals in that sentence. All right, number 2. The sailors frantically bailed water from the sinking ship. All right, where's the verb? Bailed. So bailed should be underlined twice. Who bailed? Sailors bailed. So that's the subject. Underline that once. Sailors bailed what? Water. So that's your complement. You're going to circle that. And there is a verbal here. What type of ship? Sinking. So that should be boxed. That should be boxed. Okay. Let's just go over verbals for just a minute. Gerunds are used as nouns and they are end in ing. All of these are on page 80. An infinitive has that word to in front of it, and they're used as a noun. Or it can be a verb, an adverb as well. An infinitive can be a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. And then a participle. Participles are those words that end in ed, d, en, t, and they're always adjectives. Okay, so we're looking for these verbals, that's what we're putting in those boxes. And this one, sinking, is telling us what kind of ship. So that's going to be a what? It's a verbal that you add, you put in the box. All right, so I want you to do 3, 4, and 5 by yourself. Pause this video, and when you finish, start the video again. I'll go over the answers for you. Okay, let's look at number 3. I could smell the newly cut grass through my open window. Okay, so let's look at, where's the verb? Got a helper. Could smell. Who could smell? I. So that should be underlined. Could smell is your verb. I could smell what? Grass. I could smell grass. And so we're going to circle that. We're going to circle that. All right, number 4. Frank and Ben swept the backyard porch after the thunderstorm. Where's your verb? Swept. Subject, Frank, Ben. Both of those should have one underlined. What did they sweep? The porch. So that should be circled. Okay. Number 5. Will you help me with my broken bicycle? Your verb is separated by the subject. So this is will help. Okay. And then you is your subject. Will help. You will help who? Me. So that's going to be a compliment. You're going to circle that. That's going to be circled. And then there is a verbal in this one. What kind of bicycle? Broken bicycle. That's a participle there, ending in en. All right, good. Let's look now at exercise D. Exercise D. I'm checking to make sure I'm doing the right ones. Yeah, all the way through E today. So this is the sentence, and it says identify each group of words as a sentence, a fragment, or a run-on. So let's kind of do this one together. Silver Spring State Park, Florida's oldest tourist attraction. It's a fragment. What about it? It doesn't say, it doesn't give us the rest of the sentence, so it doesn't really give a complete idea. All right, the next one. Even before the Civil War, tourists were visiting Silver Springs. What kind of sentence do you think that is? It's just a simple sentence. It's a sentence. All right. Number 3, resting on the bottom of the Silver River, a Native American dugout canoe can still be seen in the clear waters of the spring. That one is also a sentence. All right, turn the page because we have some on the back. On the next page, page 268. Silver Spring State Park is famous for its glass bottom boat tours. One can see over 80 feet down to where the National Springs are feeding thousands of gallons of water into the river. Obviously, that one is a run-on. Okay, it should have a period after the word tours, and then one starts a new sentence. And then the last one, glass bottom boat tours begin in the 1870s. They continue today. That's also a run-on. That's a little bit shorter, but it is still a run-on sentence. All right. Let's look at exercise E. Exercise E is parts of speech. It says, identify the parts of speech for each italicized word. Write N for noun, PRO for pronoun, ADJ for adjective, V for verb, ADV for adverb, PREP for preposition, CONJ for conjunction, and INTER for interjection. Okay, so this is we're just gonna look at all the different parts of speech, and we're looking at these italicized words. So it's got them numbered, and then down at the bottom you see the blank. So we're gonna do the first sentence together, and then I'm gonna ask you to do the rest of them, which, I mean, that first sentence, it covers 7 questions. So let's look at it. We are here to mark that day in history when the Allied peoples joined in battle to reclaim this continent to liberty. Okay, so let's look at number 1. We, that's a subject, but it's not a noun, so it's a what? It's a pronoun, okay? And then your verb is are. So are where? We are here. That's describing are, so that's going to be an adverb. Number 3, that what? That day. It's describing day, so that's going to be an adjective. Number 4, when is a conjunction. It's joining that day in history when the Allied peoples joined. That's a conjunction. Number 5 is a verb. Okay, this is part of the clause. When the Allied peoples joined in battle, that's part of a clause there. So that one's going to be a verb. And then, or excuse me, when is a conjunction and joined is the verb. And then joined what? Battle. In battle. That's the object of the preposition. So it's a noun. Okay. And then the last one, to reclaim this continent to liberty. To liberty is a prepositional phrase, and liberty is the object, so that's a noun. Okay, I want you to do the rest of this. Just look at each sentence, go sentence by sentence, look at it, find clauses, see what you can come up with. I want you to pause this, and when you finish all of these sentences, then open it up. We've already done 1 through 7. So you do the rest of them, and when you're finished, I'll go back over the answers with you and you can check your work. Okay? Pause the video. All right, let's take a look at the answers on this one. All right, so the next sentence. For 4 long years, much of Europe had been under a terrible shadow. All right, so we're going to look at 4. Tells how many years, so that's going to be an adjective. Number 8 is an adjective. Number 9, of Europe, that's the beginning of a prepositional phrase, so of is the preposition. And then shadow, had been under a terrible shadow, shadow is a noun. The next sentence, free nations had fallen, Jews cried out in the camps, millions cried out for liberation. Okay, 11, Jews is a noun. The next one, they cried out. Cried where? Out. So that's an adverb. Number 13, liberation is a noun. Number 14, enslaved is a verb. 15, prayed is also a verb. And 16, its. Which rescue? Its rescue. That's an adjective. All right, number 17, here in Normandy, the rescue began. So began where? Here. So number 17 is an adverb. Number 18, rescue is a noun. Number 19, against tyranny. Against is a preposition here. And number 20, undertaking. This is a noun. A giant what? An undertaking. So that's a noun. All right. So now let's look at, oh, there's one more, unparalleled. Unparalleled is an adjective. And then we're going to start with number 22. We stand on a lonely, windswept point on the northern shore of France. We is a pronoun. Number 23, windswept is describing point, so that's an adjective. And number 24, France is a noun. The next sentence, the air is soft, but 40 years ago at this moment, the air was dense with smoke and the cries of men, and the air was filled with a crack of rifle fire and the roar of cannon. Okay, so we're looking at number 25. Soft is describing the air, so that's an adjective. 26, but is a conjunction. 27, dense is describing the air, so that's an adjective. 28, cries is a noun. Okay. 29, air is a noun. 30, crack is also a noun. And 31, roar is a noun. And 32, on is a preposition. Okay. Let's look at the next sentence. Whoops. At dawn on the morning of the 6th of June, 1944, Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of these cliffs. All right, so number 33, Rangers is a noun. 34, off is a preposition. 35, British is telling what kind of landing craft. So this one is a proper adjective, so it's an adjective. Number 36, to is a preposition. 37, bottom is the noun. 38, cliffs is also a noun. 39, oh, well, let's read the sentence. Their mission was one of the most difficult and daring of the invasion, to climb these sheer desolate cliffs and take out the enemy guns. So we're looking at 39. Which mission? Who's their mission? Which one? Theirs. Okay, so that's an adjective. Number 40, one is a pronoun. 41, sheer is an adjective. What type of cliffs? Sheer cliffs. 42, out. Where are they taking them? Out. So that's an adverb. 43, had been is a verb. Number 44, some is a pronoun here. Number 45, mightiest is describing the guns. And this one, some of the mightiest. This is a prepositional phrase, of the mightiest. It's not describing there. It's a noun. And then number 46, here again tells where the guns were. So that's an adverb. 47 is a pronoun. And 48 is allied, the allied advance. Which one was it? The allied advance. So that's the end of exercise E. Now we have finished for grammar for today, but I want you to take out now your Of Places book. Yesterday you read that story of Mama and the doctor's wife, and you found out that Mama really did kind of pull one over on the doctor's wife. And when she didn't have enough money to pay for the operation, her husband's operation, she knew that the doctor's wife needed some work done, and there was the perfect guy to do it. Well, then when she finds out that the guy that's going to do her work is Papa, she's going to make sure that that operation turned out well. So I thought Mama did a really good job to take care of what her family needed, and also make sure that the operation ended with a great outcome. Well, I want you to look now at page 393. We're looking at this poem. There's a couple poems you're going to read today. This one we're going to read together. This is Robert Frost's Mending Wall, and it's about walls and why some people act the way they do. And the speaker of this poem is talking about an old stone wall. So if you can see the picture how this wall is just a bunch of stones piled up together. And for a while he ponders why the wall has been broken down and why it's there to begin with. And the neighbor just keeps repeating this phrase, good fences make good neighbors. So let's take a look at the mending wall on page 393. Although it's been there for years, the author questions the value of the meaning of the old stone fence lying between the neighbor and himself. So let's look at this. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have had the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean. No one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time, we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet and walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each, and some are loaves and some are nearly balls. We have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear out our fingers rough and handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game. On one side, it comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. And he only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grasped firmly to the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only, and of shade of trees. He will not go behind his father, saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. All right, so let's just look at the think it through. It's kind of like this person that's going on one side of the fence is like saying, what do we even need a fence for? We're not fencing in anything. You've got pine trees on your side. I've got apple trees on my side. They're not bothering each other. What do we need this fence for? And the neighbor just keeps saying, good fences make good neighbors. So let's look at number one. What do the walls in this poem symbolize? Well, they symbolize boundaries, boundaries of respect and consideration for our relationships. Number two, what are the two attitudes people have about walls? Well, we know one, the neighbor keeps saying, good fences make good neighbors. Some people like walls to be built. And the second attitude is found in the line that says, something there is that doesn't love a wall. So some people see that there's really not a reason for walls to be built. And then number three, do you think walls are needed for a good relationship? And explain that. Well, you may say, yeah, we need good walls to keep people from messing up what we have, or to keep things in or out. But then other people might say, well, it depends on who your neighbors are. It depends on whether you have animals that need to stay in or animals that need to be kept out, or whether it's just a beautiful place. So your answer could vary there, whatever you happen to think. But that's the poem, The Mending Wall. So today you're going to read another poem. You're going to read the one on page 394. So just turn the page and we're going to look at this one. And this poem is a little bit longer poem. It's called John Brown's Body, and it is about something that we studied in history. If you'll remember back when we were studying the Civil War, we found out that Stonewall Jackson was killed, and he was killed by friendly fire. And that's what this poem is all about. Remember the Battle of Chancellorsville in the Civil War. Stonewall Jackson would go and he would leave his men, and he would come up with battle strategies with Robert E. Lee. He was basically his right-arm man. And we know that one night that he came back into the camp of his own soldiers, and they thought he was an enemy, and they shot him. And so it took a while for him to die, several days before he died. And when he did, or before he did, Robert E. Lee said, "You've lost your right arm, or you've lost your arm, but I've lost my right-hand man, my right arm." And so that's what this poem is all about. So I want you to read this on page 394 through 396. And then when you finish, I would like for you to do the think it through questions on page 396. For the next thing that you need to do is to listen to the video, watch the video, number the stars, which will be chapters 4 through 6 for today of that book. And this is kind of getting with what we're doing now. You're reading about the Civil War, and you're reading the factual parts in history, but I also want you to know that that there were people involved, that their lives were disrupted, and there were things that happened, not just different battles in different countries joining in the battle, but it really affected people. And that's kind of what this story, Number the Stars, tells you about. So I hope you have a great Tuesday, and I will be back tomorrow.